Hey, Marla.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Did you guys have a good day? You have a good day?
You're not talking to me.
No. No, I'm talking to you, Marlon.
Oh, are you? Well, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah, did you have a good day?
well, it didn't start up too good. I had to go to the dentist the first thing this morning. Had two teeth.
Ooh, yuck.
Yeah, had two teeth worked on. And
That's
after
not fun.
no, the feeling came back. Well, I've had a good day.
Yeah. What about you, Chastity?
Oh, yes. I was glad to get back to some normal.
Yes.
So everybody's back.
I think at school.
Yes.
I don't get all of my kids back till next week, but at least I didn't have to teach over a Zoom like this.
Right. Is high school back too?
They go back on the 8th.
8th.
We got some good news today, or actually, I thought it was good news. Owen's teacher sent home, or in the class dojo, she sent a message for them to bring back all of their Chromebooks. So that's a good thing. I'm thinking no more NTI.
Absolutely.
Hello, Kevin, Wendell, Terry.
My phone was on mute, so y'all doing okay today?
Doing good.
We are.
Excellent.
Hey, Freddie.
Hello.
Did you have a good day?
Did you?
Can't complain.
All right.
Hey, Mona.
Marlon?
Mona,
excuse me.
but maybe you could tell me. I keep getting a message that says the host wants me to unmute.
Well, I got the same thing, Chastity.
Most people want to mute me. I don't understand.
Mona, have you all got the mute taken off of your side yet? Remember, y'all have to unmute. The mute button is down in the left-hand corner. There you go. You should.
Now they can hear you.
Okay,
So they couldn't hear you anyway. Oh.
good. I don't know how many we've got and how many we don't. 1, 2. I don't know who that is. 1, 2.
There's a check mark.
Each,
That's the report
report.
of the progress.
Just been down about 2 months.
So I'm sure he is. Because
But they call me. I mean, call
Patrick.
They don't get better in time. It is fucking bad. Here's help. You got out of that track. That helps. That helps. Impressive. You got it.
6,
Well,
7. Still missing Joe True and somebody.
everything.
He's on that. He's an iPad.
Okay.
Close to time.
Yeah.
you don't have to back you now because they finally.
And it's nearly a power grab to keep everybody in terror and dependent. Right? The government is the key there. And the government is much government and you.
We're just not home.
And we're screen sharing with her so she can do her presentation.
Huh?
We're screen sharing with McLean so
Right.
she can do her presentation.
Right. There's some more that's not here. I think all we like is Joe True. Joe, are you on here somewhere and that's not showing up? We're missing Joe True. Maybe he'll get on here in a minute. I'm showing 7 o'clock. I guess we can go ahead and get started, and if Joe tries to get back on, well, we can host him back in. But I think everybody else is online, even though we don't see you.
So we need to see them. We need to see them.
Well, if we can't see them, we can't see them, as long as they're admitted and they're on here. Someone's on phones. There's nobody else waiting to get in. call the meeting to order. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do our invocation tonight, you've got a very heartfelt milestone that was hit today in a nation of 500,000 deaths. And in Glasgow and Barron County, we have about 70. I'd like everybody in this meeting and at home to take about 30 seconds and put silence for about 30 seconds to put your prayers out to the families of the lost ones and your prayers toward the ones that you know that have COVID for a recovery. And let's take about 30 seconds of silence right now before we get into the rest of the meeting. Thank you all. And at this time, Council Member Lowry is going to give us an invocation.
Bow your heads, please. Dear gracious and heavenly Father, you are our refuge and our strength, Lord. And we just lifting up our nation, lifting up our community, Lord. All those who have experienced loss, provide them the comfort that only you can give. We ask that you be with us this evening as we conduct the business of the city. In your name we pray. Amen.
Sorry, Councilman Lowry, you cut in and out. I think, I don't know if it's on this end or that end, but thank you for the invitation. We'll have a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please.
Danielle,
Present.
John,
Yes, ma'am.
Honeycutt,
Here.
Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry,
Here.
Neal,
Here.
Norris,
Here,
Trigg, Witcher.
Here.
Have another present. You have the minutes of the last special call via remote video council meeting from February the 8th. And I think Councilman Honeycutt had made note before this meeting that there was one of the ordinances that was inadvertently left out.
No, it's just here right here is what he wants.
Oh, when the motion is after the voting process had started. You want to make a motion to correct that, Councilman Honeycutt, and then we'll correct it before we approve the minutes?
Well, there were two corrections. One was my objection to the motion to table the vote was that the vote had already started. So it's not after a motion, it's after starting the vote process. And then on the EPB resolution, I had objected to the language in section 1 and 2, but I agreed overall that we need to sign the 20-year contract with TVA. So I'd like it stated that I did object to the language used in section 1 and 2.
Okay. With that amendment, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Witcher and a second by Councilman Kirkpatrick. All those approve of the minutes as corrected, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The minutes are accepted. The first thing on our agenda tonight is a presentation from McLean Lessenberry, the Glasgow Barron County Tourism Commission Director. to give y'all some insight on some changes and things that's been done down there. And we have it hopefully set up to where she can do a screen sharing with everybody out there plus us. So at this point, McLean, would you do your presentation?
Okay, guys, can you see my screen?
No,
It says I'm screen sharing.
I can see a home screen, McLean. Your Windows startup page, is that what we're supposed to be seeing?
That, I think, is the City of Glasgow screen, so that person will probably have to stop sharing for me to be able to. So that would be on from City Hall.
Well,
It's in the middle there and down at the bottom. You should just be able to stop sharing. You'll see it in the middle, down at the very bottom of your screen. It says sharing. You should be able to stop sharing.
Screen sharing and stop sharing.
Yeah, stop sharing.
There we go.
Okay.
Let's see.
Now can you guys see
Now.
my screen?
There you go. There you are. Thank you.
Okay, so we're all good? Okay, so good evening, everybody. I'm gonna try to keep it short for you guys and just give you a couple updates. Mayor Armstrong had requested that I update you guys on what's currently going on with us and where we are in a process of our new website and rebranding, etc. I'd worked with the subcommittee for branding off of the strategic planning committee a little bit. So I know a couple of you guys are filled in kind of on what we're doing, but for everybody else, here we go. Okay. So since I started a year and a half ago, one of the first things that we really prioritized was building a bridge with Cave City Tourism Commission, ensuring that we're working closely, because we really realized when tourists are in the area that they don't know that we're two separate commissions within the county. That doesn't even occur to them. So about a year ago, right before COVID hit, we began the process of rebranding, and we actually partnered with Cave City Tourism to do that. So this, what you guys are seeing right now, that is our brand new logo. There's a lot on the back end of our rebranding, but for front-facing purposes, that logo is what people will be seeing. And we partnered with Cave City Tourism to do this, because we wanted one cohesive brand for tourism in Barron County overall. So I mentioned a moment ago, we're now aligned not only in our mission, our values, our knowledge of the market, and who our target demographics are for tourism, but also now our color schemes, our logos are very complementary of one another. I'll pull this down. So everything is more cohesive. So although we have a different logo and a different look than Cave City Tourism, which you can see here, we've both completely rebranded, and our looks are very complementary in order to utilize each other to further propel us in the market. So the rebranding process was extremely long, especially due to COVID. And since it involves so many stakeholders within the community, it's been extended a little bit. But we are finally to our website, and I have a couple PDF screen grabs of what the website will look like. We're launching it next week, so we've been content loading it over the past couple of months, and right now we're doing internal beta testing on it. So this is actually going to be the homepage of our new site, and I'll give you guys a couple more looks. So we're going to share this site with Cave City Tourism, so that's going to give us one landing page for all of our digital marketing efforts, and that just gives a more comprehensive view of Barron County. As you'll see, you can, as a user on the site, filter out Glasgow, Cave City, or anywhere else in the county. So that was a big piece of it that we wanted to make sure we kept, so that tourists could separate themselves out between where they were going or look at the county overall to plan their trip. So it's really aesthetically pleasing. The site's going to have blogs, itineraries for different trip links, information on all of the lodging, dining, shopping options, calendar events, all the good stuff. And since we're internally beta testing this right now, if anyone of you on council would like to be involved in that, I would love that. The more commentary we have on it, the better, obviously. But we do plan on launching next week. And then just a couple of other things that from our rebrand and our website, we've really utilized social media to build a stronger digital presence. So I hope everyone's noticed that. And we plan to continue that even farther into the future, especially once this site launches with digital ads, targeted ads, and search engine optimization. And that's kind of my spiel on where we are with it. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer it. Or if Judge Hale or Mayor Armstrong has anything else they want to add, they were involved closely with a lot of this. So, yeah.
I've been a critic of the calendar of events for 10 years now, or no, I guess it's 8 years now, maybe something, but a long time. Is it going to be up to date and thorough?
Yes, everything will be up to date, and that's why it's taken so long to content load this site, is we've been going back, making sure that addresses, links that are going off the website to other businesses' websites, that all of that is cohesive, up to date, correct. The calendar will be continuously updated. And also on the calendar, you'll be able to sort through whether you want to look at Glasgow events, Cave City events, or other places in the county, or all together.
I'm glad you're partnering with Cave City. Do you get any funds from the Cave City businesses into your budget?
No, we do not get any funds from that. But to be honest, if we had not partnered with Cave City, we would not have been able to build a site of this caliber. So a lot of those extra add-ons, like building an itinerary, a lot of the copywriting, all of those things that really do make the site aesthetically pleasing and a little more professional, we probably wouldn't have financially been able to do that without them. So they've been really great in partnering with us and making sure we balance each other out on these things.
McLean, this is Councilman Bonnell, and I think the site, what you're doing is really good, the rebranding, and I appreciate your work on that and your board's work on that. I mean, it's a good statement for our community, so I look for very positive things to come from this. So congratulations to you and everyone involved.
Thank you so much.
Is there any other questions of McLean? McLean, thank you so much for presenting this, and each and every one of the council members and anybody else out there can visit that website. And if you have any critiquing going on, I'm sure she would appreciate your ideas, and maybe here before long, by the time it gets warm weather, that thing will be critiqued to death and it'll be ready to go.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your work. Anybody else have any questions on McLean? If not, thank you, McLean. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. The first item of business that we have on here was a suggestion. I don't know if it was made in the form of a motion, but for the last 50 or 60 years, the mayor has just basically controlled the meetings, but it was said about we never had approved or asked if we had approved Robert's Rules of Order. So we've set that up. If you want to do that, we will, but I'll let you talk. I'll let the city attorney speak to that before we present that ordinance to adopt Robert's Rules of Order.
I'm pretty familiar with Robert's Rules of Order and have worked with it for a lot of events for over various times for 40 or 50 years. It's obviously a tried and tested and effective system of conducting meetings, but there's some things that I would like to mention before you vote on this. It is what it says it is, and that's rules of order. And as somebody that's had to go by a lot of rules my entire lifetime, whether it be in the military or in court, where we have rules of evidence and rules of procedure and rules of court, and we have to follow these rules hard and fast all the time, I feel that adoption of this is a compelling requirement that we follow these rules. Now, these rules may not let you do everything you'd like to do unless you know exactly how you need to go about doing it. And I'll be happy to work with anybody outside of the hearing, but when you're in a hearing, you have to go by the rules in that hearing or in that meeting. And if I'm the one that's got to make sure that people follow the rules, then I'll have to make sure you follow them. And in the past, what we've tried to do is let everybody have their say and give everybody a chance to basically do what they wanted to do, even though it's sometimes we fussed a little along the way. In the end, most everybody's gotten to say what they wanted to say. And in administering this according to these rules, that's probably not always going to be possible. So I'm not recommending that you do it unless you are very dissatisfied with how we've done it in the past. If you're really dissatisfied with how we've done it in the past, you can try this, because you might not like this even as well as we did it in the past. But if you adopt them, I guess you could unadopt them sometime in the future if you become dissatisfied. But I'm not recommending that you do it unless you're very dissatisfied with how it's been done in the past. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm not looking forward to telling somebody that they can't discuss something or that they're out of order or that they can't go about something the way they're wanting to do it. I'm not looking forward to that. And I know I'll be the one that'll be having to do that because that'll be my job. But certainly it's your prerogative to adopt them. A lot of meetings and organizations do adopt them. And I'll just let it go with that. And if you have a question for me, I'll try to answer it. But it's not my recommendation that you do it. But certainly we'll follow it and try to apply it exactly as the book says if you do want that. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
If we do not adopt them, then the mayor decides what we do and what we do not do completely. Is that correct?
Well, he's pretty much going to do that anyway, I suppose, even if we do adopt them. This doesn't have much bearing on that. This is the parliamentary part of going about making a motion, making amendments, laying on the table, points of order, rulings on parliamentary type things. Don't think it would have anything to do with what goes on the agenda and that sort of thing. So that's what I understand that we're talking about in adopting the Robert's Rules of Order.
Now, if we adopt this, would this also automatically apply to all the committees?
I think it would. You could make an exception, I suppose, and say it would only apply to hearings and meetings that the council was having in full. I think you could probably do that. It would seem to me that would be in order. I think you have the power to do it however you want to. And if you tell me how you want it, I'll try to make it fit the way that you want it. If you want it that way, we'll try to make it work that way.
I like having the rules, but I don't think it necessarily needs to apply to the committees because I think that'd be too strenuous for some of them.
Why don't you make an amendment that it doesn't apply to committee meetings?
Well, I'd make that motion. But if we adopt this, it does not apply to committee meetings.
Could we, Mayor Armstrong, could we have the reading of the ordinance and then see if we have a motion to move further on it and then open up to discussion?
Your motion for the amendment would come after there's a motion to adopt.
Right.
Because if there's not a motion for that, then you wouldn't need to amend.
Okay. You wanna-
Hey, Baz, can I make a motion that we just keep doing what we're doing and not adopt that?
That would be a negative motion. Now, the way we've been doing things in the past, I'd say it'd be okay to do that, but under Robert's Rules of Order, that's a negative motion, and you can't make a negative motion. So let's read this, and if you don't want it, just vote it out and let it go, and that'll be the last we'll hear of it. City of Glasgow Ordinance Number 2021-blank, an ordinance adopting Robert's Rules of Order as the standard procedures by which the Glasgow City Council conducts its meetings, which transact the business and other decisions of the Glasgow City Council. That whereas the Glasgow City Council is desirous of establishing specific procedures for conducting its business, and Robert's Rules of Order is one of the most recognized and reputable systems of doing same, now therefore be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Section number 1, that the City of Glasgow, Kentucky does hereby adopt Robert's Rules of Order as the method that it will use to conduct the meetings and business of the Glasgow City Council, effective upon final passage of this ordinance. Section number 2, that the City Attorney of the City of Glasgow shall be designated parliamentarian who shall maintain a current copy of Robert's Rules of Order and keep same available at every meeting, and as parliamentarian shall rule on parliamentary issues and keep the meetings of the council in compliance with said rules. Section 3, that the Mayor of Glasgow is empowered and directed to complete any documents on behalf of the City of Glasgow, Kentucky necessary to implement this action. This ordinance takes effect upon its passage and publication according to law. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, attest Mona Simmons, City Clerk, first reading February 22nd, 2021.
Having heard this ordinance, do I have a motion to accept it?
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Witcher and second. Second by Councilman Honeycutt. Now, if you have a discussion.
Mayor Armstrong, I'd like to speak to the ordinance if I can.
Okay.
The Kentucky Revised Statute establishes very basic requirements concerning how the legislative body conducts its meetings. And the Kentucky cities have a wide latitude to establish their own rules of order. In my opinion, undue burdens will be placed upon us by this format of Robert's Rules of Order. By not adopting, and again I want to say by not adopting the Robert's Rules of Order, we're not hindering the business of the city of Glasgow. Our objective is to make sure the citizens of Glasgow have a voice in their community, that city services are provided efficiently and fairly, and that fiscal responsibility is maintained for the day-to-day operations of the city. I definitely do not want us to hamper our role in meeting the needs of the citizens of Glasgow by being consumed by procedural matters. What we're doing and what we have done in the past has given us leeway to have discussions. It's up to us, this legislative body, to respect the process and not to use a parliamentary knowledge to hinder the business of the meetings. And I would ask my fellow council members to vote against this ordinance. Thank you, Mayor Armstrong.
Any other discussion?
I'd like to say something too. If we had not had such lively discussions about the electric plant board, I would completely agree with Terry. But I think if we'd had this in place, the discussions would have been a lot more professional than they ended up being. I don't know when or if there'll be another issue as divisive as that one, but it sure would be nice to have this in place if it comes along.
Danny?
Mayor, if I could speak, the only one that on this call probably understands the Robert's rules is Danny Basil. So for me, I don't understand it well enough. And there's a big book of about 200, 300 pages that, unless we're all going to read and study, make sure we know what we're doing, I would have to vote against it.
Okay, is there any other comments?
Well, I would say I read it in high school to know how to do the meetings at the high school. Also, I would like to amend this ordinance to say that it does not apply to committee meetings.
Marna, did you want to speak to it?
Yeah, I would have to agree with Councilman Gauntz. The book is rather large. It's a lot of procedural, and one of the questions that I have, and I guess this would be to Danny, is if we adopt Robert's Rules of Order, does that mean that we can't have open discussion, I guess would be the proper terminology? Or does that mean we have to do it in a procedural way where we all have to learn how to do that? Does that make sense?
Yes, and there's a procedural way that you may be able to have that discussion, but let me give you an example. And I think I'm correct on this, but I didn't look this answer up. I remember this from 40 or 50 years ago. I think you're a 9-member body, and if you're discussing something lively and somebody calls for the question, that means that cuts off discussion. And then the group votes on whether or not, I mean, it's not amendable, debatable. You just go ahead and you vote on whether or not to cut off discussion. And if the group votes to cut off discussion, then there's some people who wanted to say something that's not going to get to say it. And that's the kind of thing that bothered me a little bit about passing this, because I've always, and it may not seem this way sometimes in a meeting, but I've always felt like everybody ought to get to say what they wanted to say. That's kind of one of the little niche areas about this that bothered me in adopting it, because I think we have to follow those rules, and if those rules cut it off, then it's got to be cut off. And Wendell made a good point when he said that maybe we need to have that, and maybe we do, and that's a decision that you guys have to make. It's not a decision for me, because I'm just a cog in the wheel. You guys get to make that decision, and those are the kinds of things you have to look at when you decide that. So Wendell made a good point, and you know, it's just where do you want to go with it? And so the thing about Roberts is you're making it a formalized procedure, and you're making it as rules, and we're following rules then. And I think it takes away a little of our leeway. Technically, we might be supposed to follow some of those rules anyway, but we don't really have to until we adopt it and say, this is how we're going to do it.
I would agree with that. And if we're all elected into our positions to be the voice of the community, if we were having a discussion and someone calls the question and I had something that I needed to say for part of the community that reached out to me, then that my voice wouldn't be heard and their voice wouldn't be heard. So with that being said, I think I could be out of line saying this. I think it all comes down to some respect. If we show more respect, I think we could have more procedural meetings without adopting this.
Any other comments? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Got to get a second on his amendment.
I have a second. Oh, on the amendment, I'm sorry. Correct. We've got to have a second on Wendell's amendment before we vote.
Yeah, I second that.
All right, we have a second, Councilman Witcher. Now, with that being said, let's have a roll call vote whether to accept this ordinance with the amendment.
No, vote on the amendment first.
Excuse me, procedure. We're going to vote on the amendment first. Then we'll vote on the ordinance with the amendment. A roll call vote to vote on the amendment.
Benel,
No.
Gant,
No.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Kirkpatrick,
No.
Lowry,
No.
Neal,
No.
Norris,
No.
Trigg is absent, Witcher,
Yes.
Amendment fails. Now we'll take a roll call vote on the ordinance as is given. If you want to accept this ordinance or not.
Benel,
No.
Vaughn. Vaughn.
No, no, ma'am.
Honeycutt,
Yes.
Kirkpatrick,
No, ma'am.
Lowry,
No.
Neal,
No.
Norris,
No.
Witcher,
Yes.
Ordinance fails, correct? Okay, next item for business is first reading of an ordinance changing the number of council members on subcommittees from 5 to 4. The reason for this is because with now 9 on the council, we have several committees that have 5 council members, and that would be unlawful to have a majority of the council in a committee meeting without it being a called council meeting. So therefore, we're going to have to reduce that number to 4. And once we read this, just want to emphasize on some of you that's on 2 or 3 of the committees, make sure that you go, because in times past, when they had 5, there hasn't been a majority in a couple of these meetings, and all the other people come and have to go back home because you don't have a majority. So once we do this legal house cleaning, need to make sure that you attend your committee meetings so that everybody else that shows up can go ahead and do the meeting. Would you please read the ordinance?
City of Glasgow ordinance number 2021-blank, an ordinance changing the number of council members on the city council subcommittees from 5 to 4 members. That whereas the number of city council members on the Glasgow City Council was reduced from 12 members to 9 members in the last election cycle, and whereas there previously was authorized 5 council members on the Glasgow City Council subcommittees, and now 5 members constitutes a majority of the city council and is an improper situation. Now therefore, be it hereby ordained by the city of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Section number 1, that there shall be no more than 4 city council members on any Glasgow City Council subcommittee. Section number 2, that the mayor of Glasgow is empowered and directed to complete any documents on behalf of the city of Glasgow necessary to implement this action. Section number 3, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication according to law. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, Mona Simmons, City Clerk. First reading, February 22nd, 2021.
Do I have a motion to accept this ordinance as read?
Motion.
I have a motion, Councilman Norris, and a second by Councilman Lowry. All those in favor of this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Ordinance passes first reading. This next ordinance is a matter of house cleaning also. This, back about a year and a half ago, the Infrastructure Committee went through some files, and there was 7 or 8 streets that had a first reading to be accepted, and then never did have a second reading. And Roger's been working on these with the Infrastructure Committee, so evidently this is one of them that's coming back up to be done. It's ordinance 2021, ordinance accepting Pinseeker Way as a city street.
City of Glasgow ordinance number 2021-blank. An ordinance accepting Pinseeker Way as a city street. That whereas the city engineer has inspected Pinseeker Way for inclusion as a city street in the city of Glasgow, city roadway being approximately 396 feet in length, and whereas the city engineer has determined that Pinseeker Way meets and complies with standards for construction of streets of the city of Glasgow. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the city of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Section number 1. Pinseeker Way, which is approximately 396 feet in length, 23 feet in width, and on 50 feet right of way, is hereby accepted and approved as a city street. A copy of same is attached as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2. The mayor of Glasgow is empowered and directed to complete any documents on behalf of the city of Glasgow, Kentucky, necessary to implement this action. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, Mona Simmons, City Clerk. First reading February 22nd, 2021.
Having heard this ordinance, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Witcher and a second by Councilman Patrick. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. First reading passes. Next item is first reading of an ordinance amending Glasgow zoning, rezoning property at 101 Hilltopper Way and 647 Roseville Road from R1 low density to B3 business and to B3 business to light industrial.
This is the property that Sitel owned that was purchased at auction by Spantech. City of Glasgow ordinance number 2021-blank, an ordinance amending Glasgow zoning ordinance, rezoning property located at 101 Hilltopper Way and 647 Roseville Road, containing 15.213 acres more or less from R1 low density residential district and B3 highway service business district to I1 industrial light district. It appearing that number one, Spantech LLC, owner and applicant, has requested a zoning change for the property located at 101 Hilltopper Way and 647 Roseville Road, containing 15.213 acres more or less. A schematic drawing of said property subject to rezoning is attached here to as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Number two, a trial type due process hearing concerning said proposed zoning change was held on January 19th at 7 p.m. by the Joint City County Planning and Zoning Commission, resulting in the recommendation by the commission that the property hereinafter described be rezoned from R1 low density residential and B3 highway service business to I1 light industrial classification. Number three, copies of the findings and recommendations of the Joint City County Planning and Zoning Commission have been forwarded to the City Council, which are hereby adopted by the Glasgow City Council and are attached to this ordinance as Exhibit B and incorporated herein by reference. Now therefore be it hereby ordained by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky as follows. Section number one, the findings and recommendations of the Joint City County Planning and Zoning Commission, copies of which are attached hereto as Exhibit B, are hereby approved in all respects. Section number two, the property located at 101 Hilltopper Way and 647 Roseville Road, containing 15.213 acres more or less, be rezoned from R1 low density residential and B3 highway service business to I1 light industrial classification. The real property covered by this ordinance being more particularly described in Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Section number three, all future development of this property shall comply with the requirements of the development plan ordinance adopted by the Glasgow City Council on December 30th, 1991. Section 4, the Mayor of Glasgow is empowered and directed to complete any documents on behalf of the City of Glasgow necessary to implement this action. Section 5, this ordinance will take effect upon its passage and publication according to law. Harold Armstrong, Mayor. Mona Simmons, City Clerk. First reading, February 22nd, 2021.
Having heard the first reading of this ordinance, do I have a motion to accept it?
Motion by Councilmember Benel.
Benel makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Witcher. All those in favor, signify.
As a former employee of Spantech, I feel like I need to abstain from voting on this issue.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All those approved signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that do not signify by saying aye. First reading passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution for the City of Glasgow to make application for a FEMA grant assisted to the purchase for the purchase of mobile training props for the Glasgow Fire Department.
City of Glasgow resolution number 2020-blank, a resolution for the City of Glasgow to make application for a grant with FEMA assistance to purchase mobile training props for the Glasgow Fire Department. Be hereby resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that April Russell, grant writer for the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to make application on behalf of the city for a grant in the amount of $69,000 administered through FEMA assistance, which will be used, if received, for the purpose of purchasing mobile training props for the Glasgow Fire Department. If received, the local share will be a 5% matching grant in the amount of $3,300, the total being $69,000. Be further resolved by the City of Glasgow, Kentucky, that Harold Armstrong, Mayor of the City of Glasgow, shall be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary in order to make application for said grant. So adopted this 22nd day of February 2021, Harold Armstrong, Mayor, Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
Having heard this resolution, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Kirkpatrick.
Neal.
Second by Councilman Neal. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Resolution does pass. The next item is Resolution 2021 Community Development Block Grant. That's a CV Utility Assistance Program.
City of Glasgow Resolution number 2021-blank Community Development Block Grant CV Utility Assistance Program. Whereas the City of Glasgow is desirous of providing utility assistance within its boundaries, therefore be it resolved by the City of Glasgow, number one, that the submission of an application for Community Development Block Grant CV funds not exceeding $200,000 for community development activities, including utility assistance. The application will be submitted under the CDBG-CV category of funding. Number two, that the mayor is authorized to sign the grant application, statement of assurances, and other documents necessary for the execution of the application and development of the project. Number three, that the Barren River Area Development District is authorized to prepare the application on behalf of the city and the funded to assist in the administration of the project. So adopted this 22nd day of February 2021, the resolution was adopted by a blank vote of the City Council on February 22nd, 2021 meeting. Harold Armstrong, Mayor, Mona Simmons, City Clerk.
Having heard this resolution, do I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Neal. And a second.
Second by Councilman Vanel.
Councilman Vanel makes the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The resolution passes.
You can put unanimous in there.
Okay.
Put unanimous in that blank.
That concludes our agenda. I have a couple of announcements. First of all, I'm sure you're aware of it being on the council, but all last week we were down to 3 people, myself, Mona, and Brandon Kearney in the City Hall. Rest everybody else except for one of those people have been quarantined. That's on the ground floor. And this morning, Shauna finally got a clear test. She had to take a couple, but she got a clear test, so she's back in there. So we've been all trying to make ends meet, and we're a little slow about getting back to you about something. That's why. But I want to brag on the people who's been here all last week and's here today, because taking jobs of 9 people and done it with 3 or 4 counting today. So I want to give out shout to all of them. What a good job they're doing. We're going to make it through it. So bear with us. Our next city council meeting is Monday, March the 8th, 7 p.m. via Zoom. The meeting can be viewed live on EPB Channel 6. Does anybody out there have any other announcements that we need to bring in?
Mayor.
I would like to make just one comment. I think we owe a lot of gratitude to the staff at the Public Works Department for all the work they did last week and clearing our city streets from the snow and ice, and just appreciate, I know we all do, the work they did during last week's snow and ice storms.
We have had a a lot of positive phone calls about that. And it's a good breath of air to hear that instead of the negative one. So I agree, they need a pat on the back.
Mayor, just to go off what Terry was going to say, I also want to thank the first responders in the community. They had a very difficult week as well, and we're very grateful that all the fire staff is doing well now after the events of last week, and how much we appreciate the dispatchers, police, fire, all those who saved the water company, the EPD. Definitely a community effort last week.
Thank you. They all need our praise and our pat on the back, because we don't get that too often, but they have done, everybody's done a great job in working, just talking about the street department, they split that up, and if I called to check on something at 11 o'clock at night, there was somebody out there grading roads. And I mean, they work 3 8-hour shifts around the clock to get that done, so.
Mayor?
Yes.
I think February is American Heart Awareness Month, so the weather breaking, let's get out and do some walking and check on that heart, make sure it's healthy, take care of our people.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm gonna let, I'm afraid it's gonna slip through the cracks in the floor, because this ethics program or ethics class we've got all in. I'm gonna let the city clerk remind you all what day that is and what time, and make sure you all get on there and apply with what we've got to do. City clerk, you explain that to them.
Our ethics recertification class is next Monday, March the 1st, beginning at 6 p.m. It is virtual. I have already emailed you all the link. I will email it again just so it will be fresh in your email list. I have spoken with Ms. Schimmelblower Main at KLC, and she is going to be sending me some paperwork to send to you all to go along with the class. I have not received that as of today. So when I do receive it, I will contact you to ensure everyone has the paperwork to go along with the class. This is imperative that you do attend this so we can be recertified. I do want to say that we are one of under 30. The last I counted on KLC's website was only 23 cities in the entire state of Kentucky that is certified ethics training with their council members and elected officials. So just wanted you all to know how impressive this is. Thank you.
Is there any other announcements? Thank all of you for being here, or for being online, not being here. Thank you for all being online and participating. And hopefully before, somewhere in the near future, we'll be able to all be back here in this room where we can get business done with the media and some of the members of the city back out in the audience. So wish us well. Hopefully it'll go that way. We're in the process of trying to get some vaccinations that'll be up at, they're going to give us the main okay in a couple of days up at Liberty Street, the detached gym in the back, through Walgreens and another distributor, to where that once they're on the list, they can come in one door of the gym and come back the other. We should be able to run as many through there as we have vaccinations for. So we're going to partner with Walgreens and the other distributor to try to get as much vaccination in their community as we possibly can. And as soon as the city, all the city employees get their vaccination, by that time, hopefully we'll be back up here at City Hall. But just thank you all for participation, and let's just keep it going and we'll finally get back to as close to normal as we'll ever be. If there's not any other announcements, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Have a motion by Councilman Norris to adjourn and a second by
Second.
Councilman Neal. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. You are adjourned.
Aye.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Well, you got that road up there. You know, I showed you that we got to do that next meeting. And I talked to the man, told him we were going to put that restriction on it. I said, not because you do something wrong, but somewhere down the road. Somewhere down the road, if you sell that, and somebody comes in there and says, well, that's enough of my day. Nothing says that I can put a duplex. And I explained it to him. He said, oh, that's fine. I understand. I said, that'll keep your neighbors happy with you, and that'll keep them happy with the city. So